Can I make a picture of you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Can you smile, please?
Do a big selfie.
Okay. You know why I'm doing this? Because I need to send it to my mom. Because she doesn't believe that I work on Sundays.
Hey, but you gotta turn around and do a selfie.
No, he doesn't believe that I work on Sundays. You know, that's the only reason. No selfie needed. It's okay. Well, thanks for being here on a Sunday, which is also not usual, because Sundays are usually, you know, for relaxing, for enjoying the family. Anyway, so it means a lot to me that you take advantage of the importance to hopefully get some good information today from me. I saw some faces. They joined us already yesterday. So that tells me that the lecture wasn't too bad. You're back here. And yeah, Terry said it, you know, before the pandemic I used to go on tour and doing lectures all over North America, more or less on a constant basis. And due to the travel restrictions, it was not possible for almost 3 years. Which was pretty sad because I'm a people person and Zoom does not replace hugs, feelings, you know, vibrations. And therefore I'm really happy and really glad that I can be here today. Also thank you very much to the team of Strong Brea who led us in there. Extremely humble and nice people. And even more humble because they also utilize our systems.
Yes.
So thank you for having us and giving us such a nice warm welcome here.
And the new ones.
It always feels good, you know, to be surrounded by good people. And in order to have a good environment, I think it's important to check with whom you want to do events like this. And so I hope I didn't forget anybody. I want to introduce my wife, Veronica. She's sitting in the back. She's actually the CEO of the CEO. So without her, my life is worth nothing. And she's also with me in the company. We are, since 8 years, we are together 24/7. And Veronica is responsible for the finances and the logistics in our company, which is very important, you know, providing goods out of Switzerland for all our country offices in Asia, in North America, and also all over Europe. Thank you for always being on my side, which makes traveling and lecturing much easier, and I feel much more confident. Thank you. So anyway, yeah. Like I said, some of you guys were already here yesterday, and you will more or less hear the same thing than yesterday, but maybe in a little bit different way. We will see how far it goes, how far I can adapt to what I said yesterday, and for all the people who joined us for the first time here, what you can expect from the next 1-2 hours, 1.5 hours. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself, about PEMF technology, and also a little bit about the understanding and the background why we have such a technology available nowadays, why we in need of such a technology, and obviously also what happens in our body when we get exposed to such a device or such a technology, and what could be the outcome, because I think most of you are more or less here to seek for either relief or maybe prevention, prophylactic use, whatsoever. But I assume you guys are all health conscious, because otherwise you would not invest in a Sunday and spend it this afternoon or this afternoon here with us. So I was born and raised in Bavaria, in Germany, live in Switzerland since 2005. My accent you know. I'm sorry for that. I excuse myself already at the beginning. I hope my English is good enough that I can transfer what I want to transfer, and that you receive it well, because that's also important for me. And yeah, and I hope also we have a lot of fun. So I try to maybe become a little bit proactive with you during the lecture, just to prevent from sleeping. Masks are allowed. Flight mode is mandatory. Okay? Exactly. Masks are allowed, flight mode is mandatory. I would like you to put your smartphone on flight mode.
Oh,
Airplane mode, flight mode. It makes life easier for me, not becoming distracted by bing, 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 you know? And in the same time, I can force you to focus on me and not on the news. So that would be nice. And it's better for your health anyway. We will get into this a little bit later. Okay? So yeah, that's so far from me for the beginning. Right now, or even more and more, we live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology. We know that because we get exposed to that on a daily basis, in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology. Right?
Yeah.
That's so true, huh? Especially when it comes to health-related products. There is a lot of misunderstanding, miscommunication, lack of education on one hand, and on the other hand, we get exposed to more and more offers and you know, and information flow about that, and it's quite hard for us to understand all that because we more or less don't have enough education to do so. So why I'm telling you this? Because people always ask me how you end up with PEMF. PEMF plus electromagnetic fields. That's the technology we talk about. I go into technology a little bit deeper later on. But the question is, why are you doing what you're doing? Because there is always a reason behind it. So my reason why I'm in this business, actively involved, actually being the how can I say, the forerunner, even in North America, because we were the ones, 2005, who brought this technology to the US and to Canada. At that time, nobody knew about that. And speaking of myself, I'm doing this PEMF thing, and I'm involved in energy medicine since 28 years now, consecutively. That's a long time. And 28 years ago, I was 26 years old. So now you know how old I am right now, which I have no problem to share it with you. At the age of 26, I got diagnosed with cancer. And it was a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 4. I was statistically 70% dead, 30% alive. That's what they told me. Because 7 out of 10 people suffering from this diagnosis will not make it. At that time, I was a hockey player. I was involved in professional sports. And people remember what I said yesterday. I didn't feel anything. It hit me out of the blue. I didn't have any pain. Just nothing. I was even playing hockey the day before. And after that day, I touched myself because I felt a little bit of a knot here, which was quite harsh and strong. And for some reason, I called my mom, and she made an appointment with a doctor. I went there, he made an ultrasound, and he said, "We need to remove this ASAP." And so they kept me. And they did a quite simple surgery, took only 45 minutes, and they cut out a tumor with the size of a fist, which was growing inside here. And like I said, I didn't feel anything. And then protocol, goes to the pathologist, it will be examined. The result was coming a couple of days later. I was still in the hospital because at that time they kept the people always for a week after surgery. They don't do it anymore. They send you home on the same day because they have no space, right? I got the diagnosis, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, pretty bad. I went through a second surgery, which was more or less a prophylactic surgery. They opened me from here to here, and they cut off the entire lymph string, just to check whether there was already a metastatic movement going on, you know. And this surgery was much more severe than the first one. Mortality rate at that time, 7 or 8%. So 8 out of 100 people die from this surgery, not from the cancer, you know, because of a very high risk of blood loss, because they open you from here to here and they take off the organs. I don't want to, but it's Halloween, I can say that. and to reach that lymph string, which is right beside the spine, in between the spine and the organs here. You have to take this off, and then they cut all the things out, and then they send it to the pathologist again to check whether there are some metastases in the lymph nodes already. And in the meantime, I was open. They kept me open, and when the result coming back, they decided if they cut further or if they close me. So the whole thing was 10.5 hours, and that was quite a severe surgery. I woke up with tubes in every hole I have available. Must say it like that. And yeah, and then after that, I went through 2 full stages of chemotherapy. That was the protocol at that time for that particular cancer. And that took about 3 months. And I lost about 90 pounds, you know, from being a very, very athletic pro sport in hockey to becoming a person which I did not even recognize in the mirror anymore. You know, I'm still so ashamed about how I look that I don't even share my view. You know, I showed Veronica one picture, I think, you know, that's all. I mean, my legs were like my arms. It was really a very poor, a poor look. Anyway, and then after fulfilling the second stage of chemotherapy, they send you home. Good luck. That's how it is. You know? I'm not hoping, but I'm sure we have patients suffering from cancer, maybe here in this audience. Statistically, we have for sure. Yeah, eventually we have not, but statistically, yes. Because over the long period of time, every 5th to 6th person will eventually suffer from a certain kind of cancer in the future. And that was they tell you, come back in 3 months, we're going to do the blood work, we check your tumor markers, and then we see whether another MRI is necessary or whatsoever, if there is any tumor growth, but that's it. And they leave you alone with all your thoughts and feelings, which is a pretty bad situation. Not only when you are 26, because you think about girls and party and sports, but for people of any age. This is a very, very severe situation, and you get no support and help. You know, you have to find a way how to deal with it. And I figured out you have 2 ways. You either deal with it and create interest in what your problem is, or you just neglect it and put it aside. I think nowadays we have both groups. You know, depending on the characters, depending on how people think about their life and their environment and their circumstances. for myself, I made the decision, I want to know everything. I want to learn about my disease. I want to probably figure out where could it come from, what happens in my body, what would happen if the cancer breaks out again. You know, I wanted to know everything. That was my personal way to deal with it. Whereas others, they say, I don't want to know anything. I just want peace. I just want to go on with my life and see what happens. It's also a solution. It was not mine at the time. So I started researching. Google was not invented at that time. Pretty tough approach, huh? You need to read books, you need to go to libraries, you need to go to conventions, congresses, visiting lectures like you do today. That's exactly what I did. Because I felt comfortable, you know, investing my time with getting education about what happened to me and what probably happens to me in the future. And most importantly, maybe I find something how I can become proactive to prevent myself from getting this cancer back, because this is goal number one. You know, if they cut it off, but that doesn't tell you that it will never come back. And that was the beginning of my journey, which finally led me to what I'm doing since 28 years, which had absolutely or has absolutely nothing to do with my previous education. I have a marketing degree and I was a hockey player, you know, and I would probably be a hockey coach now. A pretty boring job, you know. Instead of that, I can travel the world since more than 20 years, can share my story, and hopefully can also inspire and motivate people to not believe everything what people tell you, to seek for education, because education is the greatest gift and the greatest asset that we have nowadays, that we can make decisions on our own, wise decisions, correct decisions, to move on with our lives. We have only one life and we have a limited lifespan. Don't forget about that. There is the first day and the last day, you know, and that's it. And everything in between, we have a choice, everybody. You know, I always say, we just don't have a choice where we are born, but the rest we always have a choice. You know, and I would like to inspire you with what I'm sharing with you today to live this choice. And you know, and you can listen to other people, no problem, but before you do that, educate yourself. That you have facts on the table, that you can make wise decisions what you're going to do. And it becomes more and more difficult because we become overloaded on a daily basis, especially when it comes to health and diseases. Oh, you should do this and you should do that. You should go to this doctor. This is exactly what happened to me when I went out of the hospital. Meanwhile, the word spread it, Wolfie has cancer, so everybody jumps on you and wants to help you, which I totally understand. But you stand there, you're gonna digest all this information, but you have no possibility to evaluate them because you have no education. So you either believe what people tell you, which my character doesn't work like this, because if I want to believe in something, I want to make sure that it's good for me that I believe in something. And I can only assess that with education, at least with knowledge. And this is the first message of today's lecture, and of what I would like to share with you. Whenever you have a chance to educate yourself, in order to make a profound decision, go for it. This is very important. Very important. My decision was, I want to become proactive. I don't want this cancer back. What can I do? I'm not a doctor at that time. You know, I was a young guy, just living a good life. And I started to educate myself, and I went to many lectures about nutrition, about good water, about whatever was available at that time. And we speak about 28 years ago. So, finally, I went to a lecture where a guy it was a congress. a guy was speaking about energy medicine and in particular about pulsed electromagnetic fields. And I didn't know anything about that. But I was sitting there and the guy was speaking about 1.5 hours about the technology, about the history of it, about what it can do for you. And my problem at that time, because of the high toxins from the chemotherapy, I was suffering from insomnia. I couldn't sleep, which is not very nice if you're already under the carpet because you have no substance and you cannot sleep. This is not what you want in order to have a little bit of an idea how good you can recover in the upcoming time frame after my leave from the hospital. And the guy, it was funny, everything made sense what he said. You know, it made total sense for me, not understanding a word. And the guy used a word which caught me, sleeping machine. You know? And why he said that, because it's really funny. Sure. Talking about the history of PEMF, the first effect of PEMF devices was not discovered in the medical world, in the medical research. It was discovered in physical research. There, you know, Technical University of Munich in Germany. And they made some prototypes of PEMF devices and they started exposing people with these electromagnetic fields. And after a while, a couple people came back and said, I don't know what's going on here, but I have such a great sleep every night. You know? And that was actually the first discovery. And in the same time, it was exactly what I was looking for, because I wanted to get rid of my insomnia, which would, in my opinion, was step one for my recovery. Get your sleep back. You know? And so I bought one. I bought one. Was horribly expensive, much more than nowadays. I paid really a high load of money for a pretty cheap looking device, a square box, plastic box, square box, and only a button with plus minus where I could adjust intensity 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I could switch it from 0 to 1. No timer, nothing. And the whole cheap looking box had one plug in the back and I could plug in a mat like you see here. Even cheaper looking than the box. That's it. And the guy told me, lie on this 3 times a day, 8 minutes in the morning, 8 minutes after lunch, and 24 minutes in the evening before you go to bed. And it took 4 weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks, I don't remember exactly, but it took, it didn't happen the first day when I used it. I expected that, but it didn't happen. You know, I was even in between. I thought I'm gonna call this guy and ask for my money back because nothing happens. You were probably in the same situation already, right? So, but I said, okay, come, I go through this. There must be something. And I had, after, like I said, 4, 5, 6 weeks, I had my first night sleeping through like a baby for 12 hours. Bang. And then something really interesting happened. I woke up in the morning and I felt so different comparing to the months before, because I realized, hey, my body is still able to receive information and can make something good out of it. Feeling myself more energized, my spirit went up, you know, I went from here to here, and I said, heck yes, this feels good, you know, this is what I need more. And so I kept on using it, and I just improved, you know, day by day. It was a process, it was a slow process, but I felt daily improvement. And my advantage was probably because I was so low with my entire life energy. I had days I didn't want to be alive anymore, I tell you, because I found no reason for it. When you don't feel your body anymore, and you don't feel anything, any improvement, you know, I didn't even feel that everything goes worse, because I was already in such a bad condition. And then you suddenly feel, wow, now 10% better, 15%. You feel that. Tiny percentages, you feel it, because you start from so low. And, well, what happened is, it impressed me, of course, because of my personal experience. And then I was looking at this device, and I said, I need to learn more about that. So I dived into energy medicine. Energy medicine is a faculty which is very old, 2,000 years. Even the ancient Greek healers already used so-called magnes lithos, magnetic stones, for pain relief. What was funny, they were not just placing the magnetic stones on the spots where the pain was appearing, they moved it. Because they knew already at that time that when a magnetic field is pulsating, that it creates a much more sustainable effect comparing to just placing it on it. You know? And later on I will show you a slide. I will reflect to exactly what I said right now, and you will understand why it's so important that a magnetic field needs to be pulsed in order to create sustainable effects. But for now, just remember this, you know? So whenever you still have a magnet at home, maybe you remember the company Nikken, Japanese company,
Oh,
very
yeah.
big with static magnets,
Yeah.
you know? A static magnet can have a pain relieving effect. The problem is it doesn't last. It's similar to a painkiller, to ibuprofen. You know, you take it, you knock out the symptom for a while, but then it appears again. You know, a pulsating electromagnetic field can always become much more sustainable, and it can catch the cause. And this is what we want, you know, and not just knock out the symptom for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. So that's the situation. So I went into, just finding a lot of information. At that time, the first congresses for energy medicine, they appeared on the market. In Eastern Europe, mainly in the Baltic states and in Russia. Because they dealt already with energy medicine, because they also figured out energy medicine is quite cheap.
Yeah.
You know, because it's nothing to consume. It doesn't take a lot of equipment and high technology to provide magnets. Even to gain an electromagnetic field, it needs almost nothing. You can gain an electromagnetic field nowadays with $5. I will show you later on how this works. But still, you know, and the problem at the time was also language. A lot of resources were not available in a language that I understand. I speak German, English, and French. I don't speak Russian. You know, so I had to look for sources which I could understand. But anyway, I collected quite some information. And I also looked at the manufacturer at that time of the particular device I obtained when I treated myself. And then at a certain point I looked what's inside, you know, and just figured out that could be done in a better way. And then you know, I had just the motivation to make a business out of it, because the reason why I did this was only because of my personal experience. I would never get into that business if somebody came to me and said, I have a nice opportunity for you, PEMF technology, not available on the world market, you know, would you like to market this? I would never do this, but I did it because of my personal experience. And I was so convinced, you know, obviously my cancer never came back. And beside doing PEMF, drinking a lot of good water, not even doing a special diet, I never took one supplement in my life till today. Never. We eat very healthy, we invest money in good food, we look for the sources, we drink good water, and otherwise we live just a balanced life. The only thing what we don't do anymore since 5 years, we don't eat meat anymore. but this was more or less, we were in Sydney at the seafood market, and there was such nice seafood. We were eating it, and I looked at Veronica and said, "How about not eating meat?" And I was a meat eater before, I tell you. You know, filet mignon. You know, Wagyu beef. You know, I jumped right away. And she said, "Yeah, why not? Let's try." And since that day, no meat. I'm still alive. I have a better digestion. Much better. I feel more fit, more energized. So for me it works. Yeah. But what works for you, you have to find it out. You know, I can just give you the idea. Don't be too much into something. Try to balance. Life is about balance. You know? You can only love somebody if sometimes you also have a dispute. Because without a dispute, you will not feel love. Because it would be just a regular, normal feeling. Right? And vice versa. So this is very important. And we are designed for challenge, constantly. We challenge our body constantly. We challenge our spirit constantly. You know, our thoughts. The more we challenge ourselves, believe me, the less you're gonna age, the more fit you stay, and the less prone you are to diseases. Because our body needs challenge. You know, it's very important. Pension, retirement is a social invention. It's an invention from society. They tell you, with 65, you don't have to work anymore. You get money from the government, maybe. Or not, right? And now you can enjoy your sofa at home. You don't have to wake up in the morning anymore. You can stay the whole day at home, enjoy. Well, I tell you, if you do that, you're gonna die early. Because from the day you start doing this, you're gonna deteriorate. Because you take your body away the most important thing. Movement, action, challenge. Don't do that, you know? We can still work until we're 80, 90, because we can do that. If we don't stop, hello, hi. Yeah, no problem. All good. You know, you can still do that till the last day of your life. And it's probably the more appropriate way because it will keep you healthier, especially in your golden times. And then you can deserve exactly that, what you worked for 40 or 50 years. So don't stop moving. Don't let somebody limit you by telling you, you are 65 now, you don't have to do anything anymore. Yeah. Don't do that. That's wrong. That's wrong. You know? So that's just aside, some little ideas from my side. And making long story short now, I invented my first unit based on the unit I bought. So I didn't invent the technology because it was there. But I came out with a more, let's say, sellable and marketable unit. Looked better, you know, a little bit fancier, nice fabric, more functionality. I built in a timer, and then we came up with the idea to build in a Chinese organ clock, which, to my opinion, makes sense for all the people who don't know what that is. It's just a philosophy out of traditional Chinese medicine. And in the meantime, it's also proven in classical medicine. I think 2 years ago, the Nobel Prize for Medicine was given for the discovery that we are working on a clock. You can Google that nowadays, you know? And so the reason behind this, depending on the time of the day when you utilize this technology, you will get just different information, which tells some organs you can still relax, and other organs, we want you to work. The liver, for example, is a night shifter because we detox during the night. So when you do an evening or a night session on the PEMF device, you don't want to speak with the liver because it's already busy. You know? And that's the next thing you have to remember. Energy medicine is the medicine of language. So if you want to create a beneficial health effect with information of all kinds, it can be speaking, it can be listening to something, it can be seeing something, it can be exposed to something. This particular technology, or this particular person, or this particular device has to provide a language which your body can understand. Because if this does not happen, there is no resonance, there is no feedback. Wenn ich jetzt Deutsch spreche, da lachen aber ganz viele jetzt, gell? Weil plötzlich versteht ihr mich nämlich nicht mehr. So what I did now, I changed my language to my mother tongue, German, and everybody's like, "Buh." So what I want to tell you, if I want to utilize my energy to create a resonating effect with you, I have to speak your language. Because if I speak my language, it will not work. Right? So this is the next thing we learned today about energy medicine. Energy medicine needs to apply a language of information which you as the receiver understand. Otherwise, nada, nothing. There will be no effect. Very important. Huh? Okay, so yeah, and from that day on, I started to sell these units. And you know what I did? At that time, I was driving from one village and town to another. I printed invitations. I put them in people's mailboxes. I rented a room, and I did lectures. The first lecture I did in a small village in Austria, 3 older women appeared. 2 sisters and a friend. I think the youngest was about 67 and the oldest was 99, you know. And I sold 1 system. Probably because they felt so sorry for me. Because they were the only 3 people who attended the lecture, but I gave it all. And that was I remember that was the first unit, you know. And one of the ladies, she asked me the killer question. I remember that. You know what the killer question was? Who is using that already? And I said, you're gonna be the first one. That's how it was, really. So, and from that day, like I said, I started in Austria, in Germany, and in Switzerland. And in the year 2005, took the opportunity to first go to Canada, and then a couple months later to the US in 2006. In 2011, we went to Asia. We have 2 offices, one in Singapore, one in Hong Kong. And yeah, and since there we are here. And I always love to go to California because people are so health conscious. And I don't have to always start from scratch, you know? I don't always have to start from scratch and tell chapter 1, you know? With you guys, I always can start chapter 10 or 12, which makes a huge difference. So, yeah, and this is already what we have here now, the IMRS Prime. It's the 8th generation of PEMF devices, which I was able to develop and to offer to the world, for making lives of people a little bit better, sometimes even a little bit more than a little bit. But maybe we hear some stories later on. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm doing this. And that, you know what, that's why I'm doing this with exactly the same passion and the same excitement than I started 28 years ago, because I love what I'm doing, I believe in what I'm doing, and I love to hear all these stories. We have 2.5 million users worldwide. And getting this feedback, that keeps you going. Yeah? Or seeing people after 6-9 months completely transformed, you know, getting their health back, feeling much better. We can't do miracles. Well, for some people we can, but it's their subjective feeling, whether it's a miracle or not. For some people it's a miracle when they go from 10% to 40%, right? It all depends on the subjective feeling. But it's just phenomenal to always receive these feedbacks and obviously to see people. I mean, here are people, I see them since 10, 12 years. And they always come back. They need a refresher. Yeah. They need a kick, you know. This is so great, you know, and this is why we are doing this, you know. So, the killer question after, the killer question 20 years ago was, who is using that already? This question doesn't come up anymore. But you know what question comes up now? Are there studies? Right? I say, yeah, there are 12,000 studies about PEMF. I can prove that. I have a library. You know? Can you read a study if I give you one? Not even the headline. Because nice words, double-blind, placebo-controlled, in vitro, in vivo. You know? Utilizing PEMF for fibromyalgia, a double-blind, placebo-controlled, in vitro clinical study. Translate it for me. Double-blind, neither the patient nor the doctor know anything about what to do. Is that double-blind?
Yes.
Well, yeah, it is, but it's not what the meaning is. Placebo-controlled. Placebo-controlled. Something is controlled by something which does not exist. Isn't that funny? Okay, example for you. If we have a double-blind, placebo-controlled in vivo study with PEMF devices, the study design would look the following. You have 10 devices. From the 10 devices, 5 devices, they appear they work, but they don't emit anything. Those are the placebos. So if you have this setup, you have a placebo-controlled study. Double-blind means that neither the patient nor the doctor knows which one of that 10 units works or not. Makes a study more reliable because you have no personal influence on the result. You know? And what does in vitro mean? It's an in-lab study. It's not done on human beings. It's done in laboratories with cellular tissue, with whatsoever. And what is in vivo means? It's a study done with living organisms, with human beings. So now you are able to at least translate the headline of a medical clinical study. Not speaking about the 150, 180 pages of the content of the study, with all these graphs and, you know, parameters and comparisons and all this Latin. Yeah, exactly. So if you want a study, I provide you one. And my idea is always print it out, put it on the floor, and lie on it. 3 times a day for 8 minutes. And then I give you my phone number and you call me after 4 weeks and you tell me how much you improved. You know? If you show improvement, don't underestimate the placebo effect. Always say this. You know? If you are a convincing person, I can give you a Smartie because she has a headache, you know, and say, take this ibuprofen 400, it will help you. If I'm very convincing and the vibration is good, and she doesn't know that it's not an ibuprofen. You know, she doesn't know anything. She will swallow it. Eventually, she will tell you, "I feel much better." Yes. That's the placebo effect. At the end, does it matter? No. The placebo effect has a big advantage. You know what? No side effect. Right?
Yep.
You cannot harm with this placebo effect. That's really great. And it works. We know that it works. It's proven. And that's why I'm saying, you know, even if it sounds strange, never underestimate the placebo effect. And why you think is it part of a controlled clinical study? Because of that. Because even the researchers know that it works. Mm-hmm. So, at the end, if you feel bad, if you have a health issue, if you have an illness, and you utilize something, and it helps you, do you need a study? No. You need a study to calm down yourself over the investment. That's probably why you need it. Because that gives you already a 1-0 after the first period. You know? But at the end, you know, I mean, PEMF works. It's proven. The only thing you have to do it, you have to lie on it, and you have to turn it on. Don't forget to turn it on. You know? Don't, even if placebo effect is cool, you know, don't rely solely on the placebo effect. You know, you have to invest some current. That will help, because then it creates a nice electromagnetic field, and then the placebo effect is not existing anymore. But that's all, you know. So now you understand a little bit about studies and why I'm always try to make people sensitive about asking such questions without knowing anything about what the content is. You know, the reason is it feels good to ask this question. You know, it feels really good. So, the electromagnetic spectrum, most of the people think electromagnetic, it contains of electricity and magnetism. That's why it's called electromagnetic. But the electromagnetic spectrum, according to Newton's physics, spans a little bit wider. For example, visible light. Visible light is part of the spectrum of electromagnetic fields. You know, and it can be also utilized for health benefits. Brainwave entrainment with flicker frequencies. Chromotherapy, healing with colors. Even audiotherapy, isochrome, binaural, monaural beats, you know, to heal or to balance your brain, are widely used in, not in classical medicine, but in holistic medicine, with great results. You know, resetting people's brains, suffering from all kinds of stuff. You know, we even implemented visible light PEMF therapy in our units by providing an additional accessory with goggles. They are equipped with RGB LEDs. And while lying on a PEMF mat and benefit from past electromagnetic fields, you can put on these goggles and you receive, and you can also put on earphones, and you're going to receive out of that computer control unit colors, flicker frequencies, and weird sounding tones which balance your brain, depending on in which state you want to go. More relaxed towards evening, towards sleep, or more towards activity, concentration, being there, performance, you know, and you do that simultaneously. You don't have to invest any additional time. You just do it while you lie on a PEMF device. A great asset, you know, and also part of the electromagnetic spectrum. The next one is infrared, and in particular far infrared. Maybe you heard about the far infrared saunas. Who has one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What a pity. Because we have our newest applicator I created has a built-in far infrared sauna. Believe it or not.
I love it.
Yeah? Because you get exactly the same, including the warmth, out of this applicator what you get from a far infrared sauna. And he's like, I bought two. He's like, I bought two. So this is the newest development, combining modalities which are proven to create a health beneficial effect in one application, which gives you an even better and faster possibility of improving in your health and getting rid of the problems you are dealing with, no matter whether it's chronic or acute. So that's the so-called hybrid applicators, and we work with pretty sophisticated technology. We are using carbon fiber wires. You know, the older infrared saunas, they use ceramic panels, which have, in terms of penetration depth and also heat dissipation, not that kind of a technical advantage comparing to carbon fiber. And carbon fiber is much more safe. And we work within a spectrum between 3 and 14 micron, which is exactly the spectrum, the language the body understands. So that's important. Yeah? And then we have other technologies, and now look at this. Very interesting. Microwaves, Wi-Fi, also electromagnetic fields. But we know already not good for us. So the funny thing about energy medicine is, the funny thing about electromagnetic fields is, you can create health beneficial effects, but you can also harm with electromagnetic fields. We differentiate between the language. If we apply a language, a specific electromagnetic language, which the body is able to receive, to resonate with it, and to create action out of it, then we can utilize it for health benefits. And that's why you can sit for 2 hours on your Wi-Fi router at home, your back pain will not get better. Even if the Wi-Fi router also emits an electromagnetic field, but in a different language. In a language your cells there don't understand. And that's why you don't improve. You can also try it with your smartphone when you have shoulder pain. Put your smartphone there for half an hour. It will not get better. But I can prove that the smartphone emits an electromagnetic field. Just with a totally different language. With a totally different frequency. And the same for microwaves. In the US, you kill the food instantly, since decades. In Switzerland, nobody uses microwave. Really? Really? Because the government once said, you can if you want, but we would not recommend it. You know? And we have more or less no kitchen which has a microwave. You know? Because microwave is not good. You know? It creates heat, and that's what it's utilized for, because you can easily and quickly heat up your food. Nowadays we know, while heating it with microwave, you kill it in the same time. So you are eating dead food. I know it's not good news for Sunday, but it is what it is. Don't do that anymore. I know it's convenient. You know, the problem is we become too convenient.
Right.
We call for food, we let somebody else walk for us. We are not designed that. Why do you think we have these muscles here? You know, for bothering us when we sit the whole day? No, they are designed to walk 15 miles a day easily. You know, and if we do what we are designed for, we're gonna have a happy, long, and healthy life. If we don't do that anymore, it's not gonna happen. You know, I know it's tough, but that's reality. You know? And if you want your Ferrari run like a Ferrari, you have to put the best fuel inside. Even when it's so horribly expensive like it is nowadays in California. Right? We are already at $7 per gallon, right? Almost. It's crazy. But it's the same with food. Unfortunately, good food is expensive. And that's why a lot of people cannot have access to good food, or they don't want, because they don't want to spend the money. If they cannot, they cannot. But as long as you can, I can only suggest invest in good food. Because you will always do that for the Ferrari in your garage. You know, men even go 1 time per week and they speak with the car.
Yeah.
Oh, you are so nice, you know, you have to, this is the way you have to treat your body. So, drinking good water, hydrate yourself good, and looking for good food sources. And important here again, you can only do this if you're educated, if you know where to go, if you know what type of food, you know, and it's not always expensive to eat healthy. Sometimes maybe it doesn't taste as good, or maybe it tastes different than you think it should taste now. Yeah, but I can tell you, it's not all about money. It's more about education and being smart. You know, and I will not tell you what you should eat, because there are again 500,000 philosophies. You know, everybody has to find their own way. But whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you do to your body, try to be nice and do it in the highest possible quality in your personal situation. And you are doing something good for your health. You know, the reason why we have all these civilization illnesses is because we do things constantly wrong. Constantly. You know, it's not about doing things wrong 1 time, because the body can easily compensate that. The problem is we're doing things constantly wrong. And if we do that, then it will eventually show up in a disease. Because there is a certain benchmark where the body cannot compensate it anymore. And then it shows up. You know? And what happens when your oil lamp in your Ferrari lights up? You immediately bring it to service. You know? What happens when your personal oil lamp lights up? You buy a hammer and, you know, and destroy it. This is what most people do. Come on, another 4 weeks, another 2 months, it will be okay. I can still walk, I can still breathe, I can still talk. That's the wrong approach. You know? Remember, I didn't feel my cancer. You know? When something goes wrong in your body, you will mostly feel it when it's already late. Not too late, but late. No? It goes wrong way earlier before you feel it. So, again, electromagnetic fields can harm or they can heal, depending on the language. Similar like who was in homeopathy, or who is in homeopathy? Similar like snake poison. Snake poison can kill you or can heal you. It depends on the dose, on the language, right? And here we have the same situation with electromagnetic fields. So, coming up with some numbers so that you understand which electromagnetic fields seem to be good for us, well, we have to look in our natural environment. Are there any electromagnetic fields available? Yes, they are. We have here our Mother Earth, and Mother Earth has its own electromagnetic field. Proven by science. Observed by 9 or 10 laboratories worldwide on a 24/7 basis. We know everything about the electromagnetic field of the Earth, much more than you think. We know that it vibrates with a frequency, very low frequency, between roughly 11.75 and 11.79 hertz. 1 hertz is 1 cycle per second. very low frequency. We know that, it's proven. You can read books about it. The lattice structure of the Earth magnetic field. A book released a couple years ago from a German math professor, Klaus Pionzig, very nicely researched and calculated. So that's all information, proven information, which is backed up by science. I like studies because it makes it easier for me to convince people, because I always have a backup, you know? So everything I share with you, it's proven by science. It's not research shows. That's what a lot of companies use. Research shows that. No, this is all proven information. The same, maybe you heard about the Schumann resonances. Schumann waves. Again, a German guy, Schumann, physicist. He figured out that the space between the surface of our Mother Earth and the exit to the stratosphere, not a pleasant environment for us, stratosphere, no oxygen, no gravity, and no electromagnetic field of the Earth. 2 minutes. That's plus minus the time frame you could live there. So, but between that two edges, there is a quite stable frequency which surrounds us since the beginning of that planet. Since we are able to evolve with this planet. And this is exactly measured with 7.83 Hertz. And it's quite stable. Isn't that interesting that we are surrounded by frequencies which are very stable? So that means this is part of our ecosystem. It needs to be like that. Because otherwise we could not thrive and survive. And when we move here, it seems that we are accommodate quite nicely with those informations, with this language, with those low frequencies. And that's why they are good for us. They are beneficial for us. And we know since the Russians first sent the cosmonauts to the stratosphere, that if you send people away from these frequencies, they start becoming ill very quickly. You know, the cosmonauts were diagnosed with osteoporosis after being out of the entire ionospheric environment for only a couple hours. You know, they couldn't perform a very important process, which is known as the piezoelectric effect. When you compress and expand your bones, you create friction. This friction creates an electromagnetic field, and this electromagnetic field triggers your osteoblasts to grow and to replicate. In other words, to not lose bone density. If you are not exposed to an electromagnetic field anymore from the Earth, which supports this process, and in the same time you don't move anymore, so you do not compress and expand anymore, then you're going to lose this ability and you cannot perform the piezoelectric effect. You start suffering from bone loss. You know, the best treatment for osteoporosis patients is movement, because that kicks the butts of these osteoblasts. They start moving, they start expanding their membrane potential, and they start regrowing, replicating themselves. You know, in general, and this is good about the classical medical society, they try now to mobilize people as soon as quickly after surgeries, which is good. That's a good thing. You know?
Torture at first.
Yeah, but it's a good thing. Because the longer you don't move, the worse your situation becomes. And nowadays we recover much faster from surgeries comparing to 10, 20, 30 years ago. Probably not because the surgery is better, because they let us move earlier. Which they could do already 20, 30 years ago, but it was not the protocol. you got your hip replacement. How long you had to stay in the clinic, in the hospital?
But they got me up walking the same day for the surgery.
They got him up and walking the same day of the surgery. Hip replacement. You know, impossible 20 years ago. 2 weeks. Don't move. It has to heal. Well, I tell you, move. It has to heal.
Right.
Amen.
Huh? Very important. Again, movement is energy. Don't underestimate energy medicine. You know, it's the medicine of the future, and you will think about what I tell you right now in 10 years. So, and then we have all these artificial frequencies. Our smartphones, our PCs, our laptops, our Wi-Fi routers, everything. You know, so now the new thing, electric cars, yay! You know, in Switzerland, they think about already to limit electric cars because they don't know where to get the juice anymore. You know, the electricity, the current. Isn't that funny? You know, 5 years ago, this was the holy grail of saving the environment. You know, from a standpoint of energy medicine, when you ride an electric car, you sit on an electromagnetic time bomb.
Oh, wow.
Because you get exposed to such a high electromagnetic exposure, which is not designed to heal you.
Yeah.
It's designed to move 4 tires. So we can again discuss about that 1 week whether electric cars are good or not. I think it's a cool invention, but I think it's not the holy grail for our environment and at the end for saving energy, because that's already proven by science that it will not save energies when you put everything in place. Also, what we're going to do if the battery is not working anymore, we need to recycle it.
Exactly.
And so on and so on. We know already so much energy is needed to do that. I'm a race car driver, I like combustion engines. And they have to be noisy, at least on the racetrack. You know? Sorry. You can cut that out. So, our smartphones, they have also a carrier frequency. This is the carrier frequency is the platform on which this communication is possible. This is this exchange of vibrations. Because if you call a number and you want to call somebody, you need to send out a message which is received by the particular smartphone receiver based on the number you dial, and then it will ring, and the person picks up and says, hello, I'm here, I'm here. So an exchange of information starts. And this exchange will be transported back and forth over a platform. And this is a carrier frequency. And this carrier frequency, same like a radio station, 102.7, 101.5, 95.6, whatever, you know, 95.6 is a carrier frequency, and the radio station puts all the music on that and carries to your receiver. And you're going to hear that information via the speaker. But there is a carrier. There is a carrier. And same with smartphones. Interestingly, the carrier frequency of a smartphone is between 800 and 1900 megahertz. 1 mega is a lot. 1 mega is 1 million. So your smartphone vibrates, depending on the model and depending on in which country you are, between 800 and 1900 million vibrations per second. Put your smartphone here and talk to somebody for 30 minutes. What happens to your ear? It becomes warm. Sometimes it even hurts. And the reason why is not the frequency per se, but it's the short exchange of the frequency. That creates an effect which is known in physics as a thermal effect. This thermal effect is capable of warming up or even heating up tissue. And this is unnatural. And this can lead, and mostly leads, if you do this excessively, to what?
Cancer.
Exactly. Period. Exactly. Because you're gonna distract your cells, you're gonna destroy your cells, you're gonna prevent your cells from doing their natural job. And when they can't do that anymore, it's at a certain time, they become self-employed and they do what they want. Uncontrolled growth. Cancer. That's why we have so many brain cancers. It's proven. You know, I don't have to convince you anymore because you know that. You know? And we cannot run away from this technology anymore. But what we can do, we can use it wisely. We can utilize wired earphones when we speak. Not wireless. 2.4 gigahertz Bluetooth. 2.4 gigahertz. 1 giga is 1,000 times more than mega. You know, I see people running with their AirPods on a daily basis, 24/7. Not good. You know, I can more or less sign the diagnosis already. And now even worse, our children, you know, they get already educated to utilize all these gadgets. They are even obliged to use it in school for learning iPad, you know, and all that, which is fine. But educate them to use it wisely. And if we start early, we have still a chance to see them growing healthy. And to see them reaching their golden time alive and in good health. Because we cannot run away from this anymore. It's too late. So the next concept is to find a way to deal with it and to utilize it responsibly. And you can only do this if you are educated. You know? And if you still use your smartphone as your alarm clock in the morning on your nightstand, fine, but put it on airplane mode. Because I learned that, not flight mode, airplane mode. Put it on airplane mode, because when it's on airplane mode, it is not connected to the provider. There is no constant exchange of information. As long as your smartphone is connected to the provider, you know what the smartphone does? It tries to stay connected to this provider by all means. Means when you have a weak signal in your bedroom, the smartphone will automatically amplify the signal. Which, by the way, you can figure out how this works, because when you don't put it on the charger overnight and your battery becomes really low already in the morning, that tells you that the smartphone was working hard the whole night and eats a lot of juice in order to stay connected to the provider by amplifying the signal in a constant way. Huh? Which is not good. You can use it as an alarm clock, but turn it on airplane mode. You know, I promise you, you're gonna sleep better right from tomorrow. I promise you. You know, and it's so easy to do that. You know, usually nobody calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, and you don't have to retrieve your emails at 4 o'clock in the morning. Right? All right. One click can save you years. You know, and can save you a lot of harm. Because remember, we suffer from the things we do constantly wrong. And not wrong one time. And then, you know, satellites. I mean, we have 2,000 TV programs right in this room. The information is here. If I could make it visible, we could not see each other anymore. The problem is we just don't have a receiver right now to make it visible. But the information is here. No? And that's why we need technologies like this. Because those technologies, they provide this, and they provide this, and the harmony of it. And you know, people suffering from electromagnetic sensitivity, 90% of the people don't even know that they suffer from this, because it's not an official disease, and it cannot be diagnosed by the classical medical world. Do you know why? why does the classical medical world is not capable of diagnosing those kind of, they call it a syndrome. A syndrome means there is something, but we don't know where it comes from, and we don't know what we shall do, how we shall deal with it. You know, they have no education. The classical medical field has no education on energy medicine. Zero, because it's not part of the faculty, it's not part of the universities to teach energy medicine.
It's not selling drugs.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, energy medicine has a big disadvantage. It's cheap. And it's abundant. You know? And an ibuprofen helps. Gone. Next, please. It's a business model. You know? Such a technology, it's a one-time investment. If you treat it nicely, you don't even have to speak with it one time a week. Just treat it nicely, and it will serve you without any replacement, without any refillment, without any maintenance for at least 10 to 15 years. That's not good for the business. I always have to find, every end of the month we have to find new customers. That's quite annoying from an economic perspective, you know. But it is because of what the technology is, how it's built, how the specifications are, and that it is not designed for replacement or refillment or something like that. It's there, and as long as you have juice out of the wall, this system will give you abundant energy. And that's why we say an investment for such a device or such a technology is not for you, it's for all the people around you. Because you should only use it 8 plus 8 plus 24 minutes a day. The rest of the day, it sits there and it can be used by somebody else. And they benefit in the same time from it. So consider this. It's not only for you, it's for your entire family, including the animals. You know, the pets are perfect, perfect clients. They don't ask for studies. You know, they don't ask, who is using this already? You know what happens when you turn on a PEMF device?
They love it.
They go on it.
Yeah.
Really?
Without inviting them.
Yeah, me too. My cat does.
Yeah.
It beats me.
Because they're, oh, that feels much nicer than here. Yeah, no placebo. No studies, no lectures, no convincing. No, you turn it on and the pet will sit there, and you know what's cool? They even know how long they need the dose. Some of them, they use it for 5 minutes and then they go away. Some of them, they lie forever on it. You know? Very good testimonials. Without asking them, you know, to speak about their testimonial. They just do it. You know, we have a special system for horses, for cows, you know, better milk cell content. For cows, milk cows, you know, they get exposed every day to electromagnetic field. The horses, you know, they get calm when they are in the field. They get completely calm. You know, they heal faster. You know, PEMF devices are now certified for faster bone growth, for faster wound healing, for increasing blood circulation, and for sustainable pain relief. Those are the 4 main conditions you should address when you utilize PEMF. So, does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, we are using a part out of physics which is called electrodynamics. And this is based on Ampere's law. Everybody knows Ampere's law, of course.
Yeah, sure.
No. Okay. We learned that in physics in school. It's a long time ago, I know. But Ampere's law actually contains of 2 laws. Law number 1 is, you know, if we run current through a wire, you always create a magnetic field around it. So that means everything which is supplemented with current creates a magnetic field around it. Ampere's law 2 is every magnetic field induces electricity. This is more important for us. Why? By the way, this is the way how you charge the battery of your smartphone. Because you have a so-called lithium-ion battery in your smartphone. You know about that, right? And how to charge this is very simple. You apply a magnetic field. Now you even have these cordless conductors. You know, where you, in the cars, for example, you put your smartphone on there, and in this conductor built in, there is a copper coil. And this copper coil creates an electromagnetic field. And when you put your smartphone on it, your lithium-ion battery, there are little bubbles inside. Those are the so-called ions. And when you trigger ions with an electromagnetic field, they start moving. And when they start moving, they create a potential, electricity. And the lithium controls that the ions doesn't run out of your battery. They will be blocked within that case through the lithium. And while being exposed to electromagnetic field, those ions charge themselves, and the lithium keeps the charge. And when you have 100%, that's the maximum charge. And then you utilize your phone, and then this charge is becoming discharged. So the ions, you know, get tired again. And when the battery is empty, you need to recharge them. You know? Remember that? Because this is exactly how our metabolism works. Because our entire metabolism is not running 100% chemically, it's actually 100% running energetically. And energy is the more fundamental process than chemistry, because there is no chemistry without energy. And I will show you this. Yes. In medicine, PEMF is used even in classical medicine, very widely, but mostly in diagnostics, because we all know MRIs, magnetic resonance imaging. Who did ever have to perform an MRI? Okay, remember, they put you in, they set you up, and then they run out
Don't move.
the other room, blocked from yours, talk to you via radio. You know why they do this? Because those MRIs, they expose a very, very strong electromagnetic field exposure. About 100,000 times stronger than the Earth magnetic field. And about 100,000 times stronger than these devices. So, the staff who sets you up, if they would stay there the whole day, they would be well done in the evening. Because the thermal energy is very high. So, and you can only do that for a very limited amount of time. And then you need to get out of this anymore, because otherwise it's getting really dangerous. But it's a very helpful technology based on electromagnetic fields, based on energy. This is quite new, RTMS, I'm not sure if you heard about that. Repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation is a new modality, a treatment modality, which has been developed on the same basis than an MRI, but with a different approach. Creating a very, very strong magnetic field within the same field intensity than MRIs, very high. And pointed to certain areas of the body to create a desired effect. In our case, it goes to the brain with such a device. And it is meanwhile approved for depression with great results. Very, very good results. There are a lot of studies, the FDA approved that already, specific devices, but again, it doesn't belong into the hands of people for home use, because it's very high intensity and it needs a very, very qualified staff to do that right and to not harm, because if you get exposed too long, it fries your brain. If applied correctly, it is without any side effects, it's pain-free, and it's a very effective treatment people suffering from depression. If you know somebody in your environment, go to clinics and ask for that. Very helpful. much better than taking all these antidepressive medication, whatever is on the market, which over time not only kills your brain, it kills your entire system. And it doesn't help on the long run, you know. And then we have MRS, magnetic resonance stimulation treatments. This is actually what we're gonna do. But we work with a totally different approach. We work with extremely low pulsed PEMF signals, frequency and intensity similar or even equal to all the natural electromagnetic fields surrounded by us. This is our philosophy, because our belief is that if we apply something which we already evolved over millions of years, then it can, first of all, it cannot harm, and it is fact. You can lie on this unit for 24 hours. It will never harm you. You cannot overdo. There is no overdosing, because we work with gentle frequencies and also with gentle intensities, both within the range of all these natural ranges that we already went through a couple minutes ago. You know, and what we also create with this, we create resonance. We speak a language what the body understands, because we are moving in this language since generations and generations and generations, not in these movements here. You know, those artificial frequencies, they were first introduced to our planet with the invention of electricity, which is 150 years ago. Before, there were no artificial frequencies on this planet. You know, so it hits us, and it hits the generation before us, and probably the generation before this generation. Before was not there. Before we had to deal with other problems, you know, hygienic problems and stuff like that, you know, and probably other viruses than we have to deal nowadays, you know. So just coming back to this. So beside the fact that those extremely low pulse electromagnetic fields do not harm, they have a very, very powerful resonating effect. The difference between a painkiller, ibuprofen, and a PEMF application when you suffer from pain is very simple. The ibuprofen has a specific chemical which a receptor inside our body is capable of recognizing, and it takes it and inhibits the pain. The problem is it does it only for a certain amount of time, as long as this particular chemical is inside our system. When it's flushed out through the lymphatic system, then the effect is gone. You know, and what happens here is when you use PEMF, you're gonna apply this low frequency, you create resonance. So that means the body is taking over this information and starts dealing with it on its own. And then you create an effect at least for 4 to 6 hours. Even if you're only exposed to the primary field for about 8 minutes. So the body is taking over this information and starts to repair, to regain, to recover on its own, without being exposed to the primary signal anymore. That's resonance. And this is a phenomenon which is very powerful and which is widely used in energy medicine in order to create this unbelievable results, you know, because you provide a treatment and the body treats itself for almost 10 times the time without being exposed to the primary signal anymore. And I mentioned already, we have a lot of conditions which we can apply with PEMF: pain relief, insomnia, non-union fractures, bed sore, you can boost your immune system, improving metabolism, which is the basis for all health and disease. You know, the basis for all health and disease is metabolism. You know, you can eat the best nutritions in the world, you can drink the best water in the world. If your body is not capable of absorbing it, you put it in there and you give it away here. And it's only waste of money. You know, that's why a lot of people, they don't feel or see results with supplements. It's not because the supplements are probably useless or not as effective as promoted. The problem is you cannot absorb it. You know, because your body is not capable of doing its job. Your metabolism is already so weak that you cannot take all this fuel into yourself and utilize it for a good cause. This is the biggest problem. And when you use a PEMF device, you're gonna boost your metabolism and suddenly everything becomes better. Not only because of this device, because you allow your body again to absorb everything. That's why it's important to additionally look for good diet. And maybe check if you have an effect when you utilize PEMF with your supplements again. Because it may happen, because now you open the gateways to absorb all this, to digest it, to turn it into something useful. This something useful is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This is the stuff what we know as energy. You know, but ATP can only be produced if you apply the correct fuel and if this fuel can be absorbed. Otherwise it's not going to work. And here we have the answer on what I just told you. This is a human cell. Cell membrane, nucleus, and here inside is between the nucleus and the membrane, this is the inner part of the cell where all these intelligent things are. The ion channels, the mitochondria. The mitochondria are actually the power plants who change the fuel into energy. And it has to go in here. So the membrane is permeable, is capable of taking stuff in and letting all the stuff out what is not necessary anymore. And this process, letting all the good stuff in and letting all the good stuff out, is called metabolism. You know? And this can only run if this membrane potential is stable and of great shape. And responsible for that membrane potential are those little bubbles. And those are exactly the same bubbles that you can find in your lithium-ion battery. Those are the ions. We have them everywhere in our body. And when they are getting exposed with an electromagnetic field, they start moving. And when they start moving, the membrane potential becomes really great. And when the membrane potential becomes good and stable, you have a perfect permeability through the ion channels. You can let in all the minerals, the nutrients, the oxygen, everything what is necessary to produce here inside the fuel, the ATP, job done by the mitochondria, and also letting all the toxins, carbon dioxide, and water, which is the waste, being produced during these metabolic processes. This is a healthy situation. Great membrane potential, great capability of absorbing everything what's coming in. And if you combine this with a good diet, you know, applying and introducing the best fuel to the engine of your Ferrari, you know, you have a high chance that you create more and better quality of ATP. And your body becomes stronger. What you do actually is nothing else than increasing the self-healing capability of your body. And don't underestimate this, because your self-healing capability is much bigger than you think. She
agrees.
She's happy today?
Yeah, she is.
She is? Well, she knows my voice. Right? She was there yesterday as well. So, did you get that?
Yes.
That's important, because Now you know when you lie on that system what happens. You get these fields, they speak a language which the cell understands, the ion starts moving, you create a better permeability because you create a higher membrane potential. And we know nowadays that a high membrane potential creates healthy cells. And a healthy cell will never turn into something malignant. No? And I can give you an example from practice. Did you ever hear of heart cancer? Cancer of the heart. Very rarely existent. Only in people who suffer from a DNA failure. So when there is a genetic damage in the heart cell, it may turn out into a malignant situation. But more or less, there is no known heart cancer in the world. Do you know why? Energy. The membrane potential of a heart cell is so high that it can nothing do than its job. You know, it can never turn into something different because it has no time to do that. No possibility. It's constantly working because it's your engine. You know, it's the number one thing to look at. You know, it's the number one to focus, because if this is not working anymore, we're gonna die. You know, this is our engine. Huh? So energy and creating health beneficial effects with energy is a powerful thing. And I hope you are aware of that now. And we talk about the possibility of influencing our smallest intelligent building block, the cell. Because that's actually the smallest building block we have, we contain of. A lot of cells together create tissue. A lot of tissue together in an intelligent way creates an organ. A lot of organs together in an intelligent way creates an organic system, an organ system. And that's what we are. That's what you see here and what I see when I look at you. Made of roughly, depending on size and weight, about 70 trillion single ones of these. You know? And another thing, remember, every cell has a limited capability of reproducing itself. Because this is what we call aging. So imagine here is 0, here is 100 years. And in between is your, you name it, your liver cell, your skin cell, your hair cell, you know. The amount, how many times this particular cell inside your hair, here in the front or here, will replicate is limited. If it would not be limited, we would not age. When we get these wrinkles, you know, the reason why we get these wrinkles is because we lose more cells here than we can reproduce. The reason why we become smaller when we get older is because we lose more cells than we can reproduce. This is how simple as it is. You know? So this is something we have no influence as of now. But listen, we have an influence on how long or short this replication cycle will be, depending on what we apply to each of our cells. If it's good fuel, if it's enough amount of oxygen, if it's enough amount of energy, electromagnetic energy, by moving, by being exposed to healthy electromagnetic fields. Because what we can do now, we can prolong this cycle until this particular cell will reproduce itself. And this is what we call anti-aging. You know, and by being so profound and so precise, by addressing it to each of your body cell, we speak about holistic anti-aging, which not only applies here or here or here or here. It applies in your entire system, you know? And that is something that's really powerful, you know? And if you put PEMF technology into your daily regime, let's say it like that, and in your daily routine, like brushing your teeth, and it's not a lot of time investment. We talk about 8 minutes in the morning. If you can do it 8 minutes midday, but for sure 8 minutes in the morning and 24 minutes in the evening. And you do this consistently. Energy medicine is about consistency and not about intensity. Then you do good things, fundamental things for your health. You either preserve it or you have a high chance of getting it back. You have to do some additional stuff, always helps. The quality of the fuel. You can go out from time to time because the oxygen quality outside is better than inside. Makes sense, huh?
Yes.
Okay. If you go towards the ocean, which you have the possibility, you have even more negative ions. That helps you also the quality to increase and improve the quality of oxygen, and so on and so on. And then you're gonna do miracles to your own to your body. And this is what it's all about. So the IMRS and Omnium one, we have two systems. This is our flagship system, which you can see here also in this OsteoStrong location here. And we also have a portable system, which is also a full-size PEMF device. It emits the same signal, but it doesn't have so many bells and whistles like the IMRS Prime. That's the Omnium based on a specifically designed Android tablet. And here we have Windows IoT technology, which is quite sophisticated engineering. Both do exactly the same thing, initiating, supporting, and maintaining fundamental metabolic processes. There is not one treatment known in the entire field of energy medicine which can provide you such a fundamental treatment when we talk about metabolism than with PEMF. Nothing, you know. It outperforms everything what is available. The problem is we cannot see electromagnetic fields. We cannot smell them. That's why I made this little animation. This is more or less how it looks like when you lie on it, if we could make it visible. Because we have 6 copper coils, there is not one magnet built in, because we don't do magnets. We create electromagnetic fields, Ampere's law. So we have copper coils, we send wire to it.
I have a quick question.
Can you?
On that pad,
Yeah.
if you stack up blankets, how does it go through blankets or
Yeah.
anything?
The
That's
next.
what I was wondering, how much it would
The
penetrate.
next nice property of electromagnetic fields is they go through entire material.
Wow.
You know, that outperforms everything else, like laser. Laser has a limited penetration depth. Ultrasound has a limited penetration depth. Far infrared has also a limited penetration depth. Electromagnetic fields go through entire material. If I put this mat here on the wall and I would measure it from the other side of the wall, you can still measure the electromagnetic fields. So at least 3 feet. So you can also lie on each other on a PEMF or bottom. Just make sure that the surface is solid, because don't bend the copper coils inside. But yeah, no problem. Okay.
I actually have a wand that measures, it beeps when it signals. So
Yeah.
I have a wand that it actually beeps.
Exactly, you can measure. There, I will. You know, if you go on your smartphone has a magnetic sensor, and there are free of charge apps available, magnet meter apps. You can download one of them and put it in one of the coils, and you will see the electromagnetic field coming out. Yeah, for example, like this. Maybe before we start the question and answers, which will come, let me just finish, and then, because otherwise I lose track, you know. I'm 55. So, like I said, this is more or less how it looks like. And speaking about the carrier, you know, maybe remember this from physics. This is a very simple sine wave, you know, and a sine wave is, you know, 1 cycle per time frame. In this case, 1 cycle per second. We use a much more sophisticated waveform, which is called a triple sawtooth. The triple sawtooth creates a lot of single frequencies in the same time. And the idea why we do that is because it makes sense to introduce as many information possible in the shortest period of time in order to create the highest resonance effect. And you know, with a sine wave, we would have to apply a PEMF for hours to put every single information inside your body at a time. And what we do in comparison is we create this waveform and we pack all the single frequencies in a pulse package and introduce it in every second. So you get all the informations in a package. And that makes it more efficient. And we are the only company who can create such a signal, because that's very, very sophisticated engineering, you know? And that separates the boys from the men.
Yeah.
The cheap PEMF devices from the really sophisticated ones. And the PEMF devices who show less or no results comparing to the PEMF devices who show great results in a short period of time. You know, it's a lot in there. This is I want to show you. This is a perfect video introducing resonance to you. This is our PEMF system. We start this and we more or less introduce the frequency, the carrier frequency. And now we randomly start all the other metronomes. Okay? And you can see that all these metronomes, they are not sitting on a solid surface, they sit on a movable surface. By the way, the same as our cells, because they are floating within that interstitial fluid inside us. You know, by the way, the better we are hydrated, the more interstitial fluid, the better the flow of the cells. That's why hydration is so important. You know, but what do you think is going to happen in here now?
Synchronized together.
All these fellows here, they will start resonating with this one. So they will actually, you know, take over the frequency from this one and resonate with it. And this is exactly what happens when you utilize PEMF. You introduce that to your cells. Those are your cells. And they will listen to this information, to this language, say, okay, I understand it. Okay, no, it takes a while. Okay, now I understand it. And then they will go in resonance. And not everybody here at the same time. Some of them need a little bit longer, you know.
Oh, wow, look at that.
But you can see, you know, it's just a question of time. And now what you still can observe is, if you look at the surface here, it becomes stronger. The vibration becomes stronger. Because every cell is doing the same. So, when we apply PEMF, we not only take the information, we even amplify the information. You know, if we are good hydrated. If the hydration is not so good, we cannot amplify so much. But obviously there's always this one guy. Mr. Resistant. You know? Not me. I want to see the study first. This is the guy. You know? But it just takes a while. He cannot, you know, he cannot withhold his frequency because the entire resonance effect is already so strong, you know. And now you can see how the entire information is already amplified. At the beginning it was not waving at all, and now it's getting stronger and stronger. And what do you think? What happens if I stop this now? This will not make a difference. the other ones will still go on. So if you stop your PMF device and you stand up and go your job, all your cells are still resonating. And this is what I told you, this is the effect, which lasts over a long period of time. You know, this is energy medicine. With the help of a precisely defined pulsating electromagnetic field, we can boost and balance the membrane potential of each cell, metabolism will be improved and energy production optimized. PMF technology does not care what your disease is. And it is not designed to treat or heal a particular disease. It is designed to fundamentally change your entire environment towards the idea of improving and reinstalling your self-healing capacities. It is absolutely harm-free. It doesn't create any side effect. So there is no harm and no risk involved, at least with our systems, with the low-pulsed PMF devices. And we have only 3 contraindications. Pacemaker, contraindication by law. I would easily go on it because nothing will help, but for liability reasons we have to mention it. The same applies for epilepsy and pregnancy. Pregnancy is also contraindication by law. We produced a lot of happy PMF babies already during the last 20 years, to be sure. So it will not harm the baby, but for liability reasons we have to mention it a contraindication. So remember when I spoke about design at the beginning of my lecture? I just take this off because I need my computer now. I want to share a little story with you at the end. Can I?
Sure.
I have to find it. You know, I'm in
Beautiful.
aha, okay, yeah. Let's go there, huh?
Yeah, now.
You know, I'm involved in product development, and if you develop product for consumer and for end users, no matter if it's a medical product or whatever, a smartphone, the question is all about design, you know? And then, you know, you come out with something and people then ask you, why didn't you do the design like this and design like that? Because you can do whatever you want. Well, I can tell you, even design has its limits. Because sometimes you are limited by something which you don't even think about you are limited. And I found a story from a very well-known manager whom I really adore because he's a very clever guy. He's actually the boss of Mercedes-Benz in China. He's a German guy, Dr. Jörg Storm. And he shared something on LinkedIn, a story, and I just want to read this for you, okay? Okay, listen. The US standard railroad gauge, it's the distance between the rails, is exactly 4 feet and 8.5 inches. That's an exceedingly odd number. Why was that gauge used? Well, because that's the way they built them in England. And English engineers designed the first US railroads. Why did the English build them like that? Because the first rail lines were built by the same people who built the wagon tramways, and that's the gauge they used. So why did they use that gauge then? Because the people who built the tramways used the same jigs and tools that they had used for building wagons, which used that same wheel spacing. Now, why did the wagons have that particular odd wheel spacing? Well, if they tried to use any other spacing, the wagon wheels would break more often on some of the old long-distance roads in England. You see, that's the spacing of the wheel ruts. So who built those old rutted roads? Imperial Rome built the first long-distance roads in Europe, including England, for their legions. Those roads have been used ever since. And what about the ruts in that roads? Well, the Roman war chariots formed the initial ruts, which everyone else had to match or run the risk of destroying their wagon wheels. Since the chariots were made for Imperial Rome, they were all alike in the matter of wheel spacing. Therefore, the United States Standard Railroad gauge of 4 feet 8.5 inches is derived from the original specifications for an Imperial Roman war chariot. Bureaucracies live forever. So the next time you are handed a specification, procedure or process and wonder what horse's ass came up with this, you may be exactly right. Imperial Roman army chariots were made just wide enough to accommodate the rear ends of 2 war horses. 2 horses' asses. Now the twist of the story. Now listen. When you see a space shuttle sitting on its launch pad, there are 2 big booster rockets attached to the sides of the main fuel tank. These are solid rock boosters, or so-called SRBs. The SRBs are made by a company called Thiokol at their factory in Utah. The engineers who designed that SRBs would have preferred to make them a bit fatter, but the SRBs had to be shipped by train from the factory to the launch site.
Oh, wow.
The railroad line from the factory happens to run through a tunnel in the mountains, and the SRBs had to fit through that tunnel. The tunnel is slightly wider than the railroad track, and the railroad track, as you know, is about as wide as 2 horses behind. So a major space shuttle design feature of what is arguably the world's most advanced transportation system was determined over 2,000 years ago by the width of a horse's ass.
Wow.
And you thought being a horse's ass wasn't important? Well, ancient horses' asses control almost everything. Thank you very much, and thank you for your attention.